going to be me humming the music. Trust me.
Okay.
Hey, now, welcome to the Off Night. Hey, it's another episode of the Off Night. The Off Night.
Hey.
It's the Off Night. Da 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 da. Woo! Da 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 da. Bing! Da 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 da. The Off Night. Woo! Da 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 da. It's Andy Jensen, the announcer and the co-host of the Off Night. The Off Night. The Off Night.
Hey, folks, how's it going? I'm going to show you a couple of things here. We're going into modern technology. Right here is this beautiful Bolt that I don't even own.
Okay, we'll see the plug right there. That, Andy, why don't you introduce me and we can start the show?
Really? Do we have to bring you on? Okay. Welcome, folks, to Off Night. We're going to enjoy your host, Mr. Mark Sweetman. But look at that Bolt.
Thank you very much, Andy. Thank you. Okay, now you want to show us your car? Go ahead. All I needed to do was have you introduce me so we could start here. All right, we're there.
Look at that. Look at that.
Go ahead.
That's a plug-in.
Are you driving an electric car? Now, is that fully electric or is it a
fully electric?
Wow.
No,
is
it's a fully electric.
Is that the Bolt or the Volt?
Can you see
Andy?
it?
I can see it.
It's
can
a
you
Bolt.
Hear me?
I can hear you. It's a Bolt.
Bolt.
It's a Bolt.
Awesome. Is it your, now? Do you own it or is that your Uber car?
No. This is a rental. This is a Hertz rental car.
Wow.
So they're renting them out to us now.
That's cool. Now, do you get a deal from Hertz because you're driving as a ride share?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, just push the button. Here's my. Yeah. Can you see the green thing?
Yeah, I can see it. You're all charged up. I like it.
That's the charge for 248 miles.
Now the Bolt is the one that's built in the Poletown plant, right? Over there.
Yeah, that's the one that's built by
East Grand Boulevard and Trombley, I think.
Yeah. So it's quite a.
All right, we're gonna.
All right, I'm not going to show you more technology. I'm just letting you know it's kind of fun.
All right, well, my wife is leaving me unless I get her on here, so I'm gonna take you down, and I'm gonna put my wife on for her poem. Stay with us.
I'm staying with you.
I'll be right back. Here's Susan with the poem.
Boy, all the egos. Now introduce me. Okay, I have your poem, and because this is Tuesday, and you normally do this show on a Monday, it's sort of the off night of the off night. So I actually gave this poem a title, Poem for the Off Night on an Off Night. What do you think about that? I imagine there's wild laughter. Here we go. Because July 4th holiday was yesterday, here's the off-night poem on an off-night day. Lots of bad news to tell. Things are really quite bad. Chicago suburb parade shooting is more than just sad. The war continues on. Russia invading Ukraine. What's wrong with our world? Are we all insane? Chris Darnell died in an air show driving a jet-powered truck. All I can say is, OMG, what the fuck? Climate change, deforestation, resources depleting, bad fires out west, sea ice is retreating. Italian glacier fell off, 7 people confirmed dead. I don't want the Alps to fall on my head. Tennessee Walmart kitten in a vending machine. Fireman rescue, the cat must like Pepsi. Obscene. And that's the poem.
Yay!
I'll bring Mark back.
Thank you. That was so uplifting and cheerful. So much great news. All right, I'm going to bring Andy back, and then I'm going to bring him in, and then here's also Jason Grant.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
My niece, Carol, lives 10 minutes from where that shooting took place.
Oh my God!
In Highland Park.
It's a beautiful, quiet neighborhood.
Yep. Hey, you know what? Here's something I had thought about before, but for some reason it left my mind. But I'm back to it now. I'm beginning to think that some Second Amendment nuts really like killing people. I think they really get off on these people that die from these shootings.
There's no question.
I can't. There's no other way for me to explain why somebody would defend that.
Well, they're mentally ill. They're mentally ill. They're all the same.
Well, I'm not talking
person.
about the shooters. I'm talking about the people like the Trump supported candidate for governor in Illinois who said, "Let's get over it."
Oh wow!
Let's move on.
How about the woman
less than 2 hours
running for Secretary of State in Michigan who said that abortion is satanic sacrifice?
I like that. It gives it a certain poetry.
Give the people what they want.
Exactly.
Okay.
You sure it was Michigan?
Oh, do you like that?
She's African American.
It was. And I know this woman. All right. I know who she is. I know the woman.
Come to Dr. Anton LaVey's abortion clinic. Hail!
I know who that woman is, and this. God. Sam, you're not. You're not in the evangelical community, and I don't know how much Andy and Jason. What's that?
Let me tell you an evangelical story.
Okay.
Her campaign slogan, I think, is government.
A guy goes up to a faith healer, and the faith healer says, "Tell me what you need. Tell me what you need, my brother." And he says, what is the thing that's bothering you the most? What is wrong with you? And he goes, hearing. And he grabs his head and he goes, Lord, please heal this man. Let him be among all of us whose sounds enter your soul. And he goes, no, asshole. I have a hearing next week and I need a lawyer.
I need a lawyer.
All right, that's joke number one.
Oh, okay.
Joke number two. I'm going to do all these now and get them out of the way. Joke number two. Mommy, Johnny showed me his wee-wee. Oh, he did. Yeah, it reminded me of a peanut.
All right.
It was that small? No, salty.
Oh. Oh.
I know.
Well, wait a minute. There goes an audience member. Okay.
And finally...
We're just like at the evangelist.
That reminds me.
And finally,
that reminds me of the joke. I'll just tell the punchline since you guys probably know it.
Okay.
I'm out. All right. I'm out again.
A health inspector
Every
goes
time
to a restaurant.
I just can't.
And he sees the guy
or something.
Picking up a hamburger, rolling it up, putting it on his armpit, flattening it, and throwing it on the grill. And he says to him, "That's disgusting." He goes, "Oh, that's nothing. You ought to see how I make donuts."
Yeah, I've heard that.
By the way, that woman in Michigan who's the crazy woman who's running for
running for Secretary of State. Gotcha.
Yeah. I hear her campaign slogan is "No gas, no squeegee."
Oh yeah, there you go.
That's Leo DeFore's joke. Remember Leo?
God, I haven't heard that name in literally 30 years.
Secretary of State.
Well, Leo DeFore must have stole it to an ad because that's what the ad is saying.
Well, the last time I saw Leo, I was working for him in Windsor.
Oh wow!
And that's how long ago this was. And he picks me up at the airport in Detroit, and we're walking to his car, and a guy comes up to him and says, "Hey, brother, you got any change?" And Leo pulls out some Canadian money.
Really?
He says, "I have this." He goes, "Canadian? Fuck you." Walks away.
You couldn't exchange Canadian, huh? All right.
Had no clue. I don't know if you read about this, but you probably did. But Gavin Newsom is attacking, which thrills me, DeSantis. Is just going after him relentlessly.
Well, go
And
for it.
DeSantis's I don't know whether Secretary of Education is in a right wing. And Jason, with apologies to you, because conservative doesn't mean right wing anymore.
No.
A right wing religious cult.
Ah.
Okay, they think that they think that Billy Graham is a liberal punk.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like they say, the sort of Fred Phelpsification of religion is not new.
I interviewed Fred Phelps,
Interesting character.
and when the interview was over, I had the kind of radio show I could talk to my producer on the air.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't allow that, which I think is insane,
Right.
because they're usually smart, literate people, and they have something to say, so share it. And so my producer said, "What did you think of him?" I said, "Open your mouth again and you're fired." No, I said, I'm sorry. I'm a hypocritical little shit.
Yeah,
No.
I've seen
And
it.
so he said, what did you think of him? I said, he was 900 miles from where I'm sitting, and I was scared.
Well, you remember Alan Berg, right?
Who?
Alan Berg. He was a broadcaster out in
Shot to death.
Minnesota who specialized in fucking with American Nazis.
Shot to death in Denver.
Was it Denver? I thought it was out. Yeah, but he was shot in his driveway. I mean,
After the show.
There aren't many of these people, but there's enough, and the ones who are genuinely true believers are fucking scary.
And listen,
Well,
you say there aren't many of them. All you need is one with a gun.
One with a gun is more than enough. But again, I don't think they represent a plurality.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But crazy Americans are not new. I mean, this country's been batshit crazy since we started. You get on the Ouija board and ask John Brown. But I still remember when that happened, because I was appalled by how can you not be appalled, right? I mean, the guys on the radio. I mean, you remember Detroit radio used to have some really great muckrakers on during the day and especially at night, and it just made things interesting to hear and to listen to. It wasn't all homogenous. And you shouldn't be shot in your fucking driveway because you have opinions that other people don't like.
Yeah.
That's
we all agree on that point, yeah.
Statement. Yeah, I say.
What was the name of that movie? Oh God.
True Believer?
No. I like that one.
That was a good one.
It had, I can never remember this guy's name. He had a regular role on Law and Order: Criminal Intent.
Oh, it's the one that was done by Bogosian. It was about
Eric
talk radio.
Bogosian. He played an Alan Berg-like character.
Yeah, talk radio. Great play. Really fantastic movie.
Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin. Yes.
See, Alec Baldwin is another guy. Chafes me every time, but I love to listen to the dude. I wouldn't want to be in his sight line when he's handling firearms, but
Alec Baldwin.
He's smart and he's got a lot to say.
He does.
Yes.
So do his brothers.
By the way, yeah, he does, Billy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's interesting to me. Susan Sarandon, who I think I agree with Mary Trump. I think she's a dope. I think that Susan Sarandon is a dope. Okay. There were funerals for 2 police officers here in New York. Yeah. One was 22 years old, shot to death during a domestic, they had a,
right.
And she said, and they showed the funeral, and she goes, well, there's fascism right there. And then she apologized and said, I didn't put the two together. Then you're an idiot. You're an idiot. And you should never you should never publicly speak again.
And she has no problem living behind the security of paid people who are carrying weapons on her behalf.
That's what I said, about her. When she said she was going to vote for Trump because she said it would help foment the revolution. I said, where are you watching the revolution from? Your townhouse in the West Village? Is that where you're going to see that? Or are you going to go all Che Guevara on us and lead the charge? Get the fuck out of here.
When the revolution comes, it'll be coming down the elevator.
You look up limousine. This is Sam talking, by the way. You look up limousine liberal in the dictionary, and there's her picture.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's another thing about her. She's all, progressive. Roe v. Wade gets overturned. Not a word out of her. Not a word.
Yeah, where is she?
And Listen, you can't be kind of progressive. It's like being a little bit pregnant. Either you are or you aren't. And that's a very progressive issue, and a conservative issue as well. But you know what I'm saying. And she said nothing.
Well, with Roe v. Wade, and this is the thing that I took away from it, more than anything, is that it curtails the ability of the judiciary to act as a super legislature, which is the most important aspect of that ruling. I read Roe, I read Casey back when I was in law school, amongst other cases and decisions, and Roe is not particularly well argued.
No, it's not. Well, listen, I have a friend who's a conservative lawyer, and he said his problem with Roe v. Wade is not the abortion issue. It's that the law was not written well.
No, the thing is, it was written like legislation. It was written like a statute. The judiciary is not there to impose statutory rules.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Barack Obama, a constitutional lawyer, said the same thing about it.
Yes.
About Roe v. Wade.
And I've maintained for a long time that if people really want to secure their right to abortion, that it needs to be codified either in state or federal legislation and/or changes to the constitution of states or the federal.
Well, what they're going to eventually do is they're going to codify it. That's what's going to happen.
We were on the road to doing that in 1972 when we had a referendum in the state of Michigan. And the Supreme Court took all that away. And I think that was a mistake. We should have been continuing to codify and argue about it and at least settle it among the polity, not among the judiciary. But, again, that's a far right-wing coup to say, let the people figure it out,
Here's the sad part. Here's the sad part is we would have had better laws if we would have allowed the state to codify it back in 72 than to have them now do it in 22.
Which we had in 1972. It was on the ballot. I remember my mother voting for it. Of course, my mother was in favor of aborting us. I think on my 10th birthday, she was letting me know.
Don't take her to heart. She had her own motives. Okay.
Well,
that's what they mean. That's what they mean by life begins at 40.
Yeah,
there you go.
You had to raise 3 teenage boys at once, so the woman had to live in a house that was spattered in DNA on a regular basis. I can't blame her.
See, I'm Jewish, and we believe that life begins when you get your medical degree.
Exactly.
Oh, I gotcha.
Well, when you become a lawyer, you want to go to law school.
Or your law degree.
Law degree, yeah.
Pass the bar. That's allowed too.
Mom, I'm getting married. Oh, is it a Jewish girl? No. Oh, is it a Gentile girl? No. Is it a black girl? No. Well, what is it? It's a boy. It's a boy. Is it a Jewish boy? And another joke lays flatter than my ex-wife's ass.
That's a good joke.
Actually, I know how that feels.
I was telling the rest of the guys.
It's like Carol Leiper tells about how when
I was telling Mark that my cousin went to the White House the other day and got a chance to talk to Biden.
Wow.
And she asked him about, the Supreme Court. And he was very gracious. He said, open your fat mouth again and I'll have you cuffed and killed. It could not have been nicer. And then he invited his wife, Dr. Biden, beat the shit out of my cousin.
Yeah.
And it got ugly. That's all I want to say. It got nasty.
That's the sort of charisma.
This one's for you, honey.
By the way, did you see? You seen Donald Trump's book?
Which one?
You've just published a book.
Really?
Was it pop up?
Oh, I thought he read one.
That's closer than you think.
I was thinking it was one of the textbooks.
It's more pictures. It's more pictures than print, and it's hang on, kids, $150.
Hey, Madonna never charged that much, for Christ's sake. Come on.
Not for everything.
Yeah, that's true.
People who don't need $150 and can't be trusted with $150 will give it to him.
That's what amazes me.
This is not necessarily a bad thing.
Regardless of what his politics are or what kind of human being he is, it's too much money for that book. It's just too much. And people are going, I gratefully spend it. Oh, yeah, my kid needs food. Well, fuck them.
You're in the trailer park and said, honey, I just got a $150 book from Donald Trump. There you go.
Well, as you'd have to go and hock the Yosemite Sam mud flaps and
Yeah.
not buy as much ammonia for the meth lab. But these are sacrifices.
Everybody has their needs.
That's
I'll turn in my mud flaps for that one. Go ahead.
Well, there was a contest a radio station had. What would you do to get tickets? This is when they were a hot group, to see Motley Crue.
Oh.
And this guy said, he was like 20 years old. He said, I would let them do my mother.
Oh,
And now get this. They asked, and they said, your son said, I can't get over this. Your son said he would let Motley Crue
Yeah, make
do
the
you.
bridge out of you.
And she said, well, he really likes them. I just think she was hot for Tommy Lee's dong. That's all. But
my mother, being a good old-fashioned hillbilly from both Kentucky and Ypsilanti, the guys from Motley Crue would have stumbled out of the hotel room 3 days later begging for peanut butter sandwiches and hydration. And she'd come back. Get back in here, you cowards. We ain't done yet. So,
listen, I've known women like that. You put your hand in and someone shakes it.
Up here looking for the wedding ring and my
Help me find my keys and we can drive out of here.
We can drive
That's
out.
That's the greatest joke ever.
Oh, good news. We found your class ring. Yeah.
Wow.
On a football player's ankle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know, but we do some of this on live at the Unclub, and all of a sudden we're sneered at by our proto-feminist audience members who just can't take a joke or
Mark, who did your wife say died in a jet truck crash?
I saw it. I don't know the guy's name.
Was it someone well known?
He's a local guy. It only would mean people. It would only Chris Darnell.
Yes.
Around here, he's a stunt driver, and he was.
Not a good
what
one,
he does
evidently.
is he drives a jet-powered truck.
Yeah, truck with 3 jet engines and afterburners on the back end of it. Yeah.
Takes on all customers.
When I was
And
a
so
dorm director, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Well,
please.
he's dead now, but I mean,
Yeah.
he would.
How did he slam into a wall or something like that?
Right.
I lost
Right.
control.
And he wiped out in Kalamazoo. A friend of mine was at that show and actually
Ain't that
saw
the
it
way?
happen.
I'm about to say if I'm going to go out Kalamazoo. That's
No, I'm just saying a friend of mine was at that show and saw the truck roll over.
So he was trying to jump something, or
No,
just
he
fell
just
over?
lost control. He lost control of the car. You got jet engine
Yeah.
and retro burners, and you've got 4 tires. You don't have a chance.
Yeah, there are a series of 2 or 3 of these in Darwin's award book.
Well, yeah,
And they usually start out
Just
in the
trying
West,
to.
and they put these
He was
things
racing
on.
all comers. You bring whatever you have, and I'll race you with this
Well, the
truck
idea
with jet
was
engines on it.
that he would drag race airplanes. The airplanes
Yeah.
would go down.
When I lived in Oneonta, New York, I was dating this girl, and her father and mother, stepfather and mother, invited me to go to an airplane race.
Yes.
So I thought, oh, that's cool, So I go. I had no concept of what it actually was. So we get to the field, the airfield, and 2 planes take off. And then after they take off, the family says, anybody want something to eat? It's on me. And I go, wait, aren't they coming back? And her mother said, well, in an hour.
Yeah.
I said, wait. So you watch them take off, and as I'm talking, I'm realizing everything you're about to find out about this will disappoint you. So I said, so they take off, and they're flying now, all right? Okay.
They're racing.
And I said, if it's an hour, there's not a lot of maneuvering going on. This isn't like a fast track or anything. And they go, right. I go, and then I decided, don't ask another question. Do not ask another question, because my entirety of the question is, You watch this shit? Are you serious? This isn't drag racing, you know. This isn't funny cars.
And you sit there and balk at chess for this? Come on, you know.
You watch this shit? Are you serious?
Watching paint dry is much more exciting than this.
I'm hearing my voice twice.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't like what I hear.
Hmm.
Hello, hello? Okay, is it gone?
You're definitely getting the loop.
Yeah.
No, it's not gone.
I can't say anything because I'm
can
on
break
a
our
10
show up
second,
into
I'm on a 10
segments.
second delay. So I'm
Segments of the poem, segments of when things break up, segments of when we lose Sam, we lose Jason, segments of, you know, that's the whole hour, you know. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Tommy, can you hear me?
Tommy, can you see me? All right.
I don't know if I said this last week. Please stop me if I did. I was in a band, a 50s band, and I was talking to one of the original, yeah, like we were the Drifters. One of the guys in the band, and I said, "How's Andy?" And he goes, "Oh, Andy had a stroke." I said, "Jesus, really?" He's okay now. I said, "See, I forget. This band was so long ago. I'm 74. These guys are like in their 60s. So it's not like, oh, he's 22 and had a stroke. No, he's 63. He had a stroke." And so I said, "And how about Bobby, our sound engineer?" He goes, "Well, he had a really bad stroke. He had a stroke that only 5% of people recover from. But slow but sure, he's coming back.
Yeah.
It's going to take about a year." I said, "Jesus." I said, "And our drummer, Bo, he died, right?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, Bo died." So I said, "So this kind of puts the kibosh on the reunion tour." And he said, "I don't think that's funny." I said, "It's very funny." I
The
said,
album cover could be different strokes.
Right.
So.
"Yeah, you know, it's funny. One of the greatest lines I ever heard on Mary Tyler Moore was when Chuckles the Clown died, and the elephant thought he was a peanut.
Yes.
Oh no, banana, and peeled him to death. And Murray said, "Good thing he wasn't a peanut. He would have husked him to death." And everybody's laughing. And Mary says, "A man died. How can you do this?" And Lou Grant said the greatest line. He said, "Mary, we laugh at death because death has the last laugh." Man, that you know, that was wonderful. By the way,
writers,
whoever the writers were for Mary Tyler Moore did not get enough credit.
No, they didn't.
Do you remember the one where she was at a convention with Ted and this really hot brunette was hitting on Ted?
No.
So he's and he can barely stand it because he just got married to Georgette.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he said, and so he says to the woman, he says, "Well, I have to go upstairs now. The maid is going to turn down my bed." And she goes, "Ted, I can't imagine any woman turning down your bed." And he's like, "Oh." Yeah. And so he says to Mary, "I don't know what to do. I just don't." And she goes, "Ted, how good looking can she be?" He says, "Are you kidding? Next to her, you're a dog." Oh man, that just kills me. Oh,
that's
God.
Again, that's Grant Tinker knew how to hire the writing staff. You got to give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Did you see Jonathan Stewart? Jonathan. Did you see Jon Stewart's Mark Twain Award?
No, I did not.
No, I've not seen.
The farm team that guy fostered is amazing.
Well, yeah. I mean, what, Colbert,
Ed Helms, Samantha Bee.
Yeah, I'm about to say there's been more than a few people.
Trevor Noah. It's just amazing.
To me, was the favorite guy was the black correspondent.
Yes,
he was great.
I don't remember that one.
Oh God, he wrote
Larry Wilmore.
Larry Wilmore. He was the head writer for the Bernie Mac show.
I can't believe they canceled his show. It was great.
It was a brilliant show. It was great.
Maybe it was. I don't even think, sometimes my feeling is too hip for the room, but it wasn't that. I'll tell you what was funny though. He was one of the him and Hannibal Buress were the first two African American guys to talk about Cosby.
About to say,
Oh,
Cosby's
yeah.
not a big fan of Hannibal Buress, if memory serves.
Well, Hannibal Buress was the one who's just, and God bless him for it, destroyed Cosby.
He absolutely, with one offhand remark, it was a good example of what viral media can do in the modern age. People, because Cosby could have been carved on fucking Mount Rushmore at that point. You know, I mean, there'd always been little rumblings and tiny little pissing matches that no one cared
It
about.
amazed me that in all the shows,
around, but not rape.
all the shows
But
that
when
Mary
Hannibal
Tyler
that
Moore did,
great women,
except for Maury Amsterdam and Ed Knight.
Well, there is. I just watched the episode of 30 Rock where they had what's his name talk about what Cosby did with his aunt.
What Cosby did? What?
It was on a 30 Rock episode, and it was the guy who was playing the black lead was supposed to be like, you know, it was talking to it was in the middle of contract negotiations with Donnie,
Alec
Baldwin, and supposedly it was like, you know, it goes like, so we're gonna give you this. He says, I have Cosby here to talk to you. You have somebody do an impression of Cosby. He goes, I'm gonna talk to him. Not after what he did to my aunt so and so. You tell him to go fuck himself. You know, we did say that, but it was all like, you know, he hasn't. You know, my aunt keeps talking about that what he tried to do with her. You know.
Did you ever see Tina Fey's impression of Cosby? She did it at an award show. She goes, "You put the pills in the pudding." You know, they asked Tina Fey something. They said, when the Saturday Night Live first came around, how do you think you would have fared with that group? She said, "Oh, I would have run out screaming."
Absolutely.
Yeah. She said the amount of drugs they did. She said, and listen, I'm not a child when it comes to that, but she said it was frightening. She said, I mean, people died. Chris Farley died. John Belushi died. Well, you know, there was another guy on the show who I can't remember, Italian last name. He almost died of a coke overdose and never worked again. You know, they didn't realize there were limits.
Well, and not only that, it was at a time when that show, when it hit, it just became so big so quick that, yeah, I mean, just that whole Horn of Plenty.
It's amazing how much money those guys were making. I have a friend who worked on that show, and after the show was over, I don't mean, you know, it's not over, but, you know, after that, you know, they would play poker. And these are guys like you and I mean, you know, they're not rich, but they were making so much money. They were playing poker for $1,000 a hand.
Yeah.
Guys would walk out of there losing 20 grand.
Yeah, because they could.
Because they had
it to lose. Yeah, it's like hearing about the Enron executives who used to race Ferrari and Lamborghini and smash them up on the weekends. But hey, whatever. We got more where that came from.
Well, you know, it's when somebody says to me, well, how about these liberals who claim to be, you know, in favor of you know, the EPA, but they fly a private jet. I said, well, they're hypocrites. And the guy who I said that to was pissed at me because he wanted me to come up with some lame bullshit excuse. Well, what? No, I said, no, they're hypocrites.
Yeah,
that's all. There's no sense in trying to hide that.
No.
Okay. No, they say one thing, they do another. They preach about, you know, conserving energy, and they're flying a goddamn plane probably to take their, you know, their dog to the vet. You know, and I said, no, they're hypocrites and they should be excoriated for it. And he goes, do you really feel that way? I said, no, I'm lying so you'll date me. Yes, I feel that way. Jesus. You know, I mean, just because I agree with someone politically doesn't mean they're right all the time.
No, but again, nowadays politics has devolved from arguments over policies. You know, it's a religious affair.
But by the way, yet you're exactly right.
You remember this. Remember the Birchers? Do you remember? I mean, I remember just the tail end, the flare.
The John Birchers?
The John Birchers. Remember when the McCarthy? Again,
I remember them well.
But I remember Eugene McCarthy, sort of the flare out of it. It's still in the early 60s. There were still people who supported him. I mean, I remember he went on Jack Parr and, well, you know, come on, why don't you try and, you know, get
McCarthy?
the band? Yeah, McCarthy. mercifully, he killed himself with liquor not too long after that. So, I mean, that proves there is a God. And
He
lives.
literally died of cirrhosis of the liver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is, these people, I had them in the neighborhood I grew up in, and you could not reason with them. You could not rationalize with them. Everything was a communist conspiracy. You either agreed with them or you didn't. And if you didn't, you weren't wrong. You were in a state of sin, and had to be expiated. You had to be burned at the stake because obviously you're a fellow traveler, and unfortunately, I see that nowadays in the way that we conduct our affairs presently.
I love that. The guy
It's sort
who
of mirror image.
the guy who founded the John Birch Society was Robert Welch,
I remember, yes.
and he was from the Welch's candy empire.
Yeah,
So this friend of mine calls me. He says, "Listen, I'm organizing a boycott." And I said, "Of what?" He goes, "Of Welch's candy." I said, "You have no shot. You have no." He said, "Why? You won't?" I said, "I don't eat candy." But I said, I only had a candy bar occasionally, but I don't like Welch's. I don't like Junior Mints. I don't like that shit. I said, "But you have no shot. If you ask someone who eats that stuff regularly to give it up, okay, they'll start calling you a Jew bastard and ask for your credentials. Or no. I said, you have a better chance. I don't even have any comparison to that. No, you'll never. Everyone he called, this is so funny to me. He called me back about a week later, and he goes, I go, "How'd it go?" He goes, "Not great." I go, "Well, what happened?" He goes, "Well, I told someone we were going to do a boycott." And he goes, "Sign me up." "What's it for?" "Well, we're going to boycott Welch's." Hello?
I mean, things not great
What?
like that.
Junior Mints? I'm sorry. Yes. I think you could actually do a boycott of Coors beer better than doing Welch's candy.
Well, because beer is such a. I'm going to tell you. I'm not a beer drinker, but I know good beer when I taste it.
And Coors
that was the worst beer, except for Carling Black Label. Carling Black Label is the worst beer I've ever tasted. But Coors is right up there, right next to it.
You said the only reason you drink Black Label is because you're poor and you need to get drunk. Because have you seen your wife? Everyone else has, and we've got to do something here to make this work.
I used to love the song parody a friend of mine wrote. "You who Mabel, get off the table. That money's for the beer."
and of course, the only thing that could really give it a run for the money is of course Hams from the land of sky blue water. Where they brew the panther piss that they put in those cans.
There was a kosher deli near me, and they had a sign up saying, "The only ham we serve here is Ham's beer." I thought that was very. By the way, let me tell you how long ago it was that I was in that deli. You ready?
Yes.
Corned beef sandwich, 75 cents.
Oh my God.
1968.
64.
Ooh, off by 4.
Close.
If we're gonna go back,
it could have been it could have been 90 cents then.
Yeah.
My ex-wife's father owned a bar in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is all you need to know about him. And he had a guy who was a regular there, who probably I know died of alcoholism. I know he did.
Oh, God.
And he was 41 years old and lived with his mother.
Oh, wow.
And he comes home one night, and the reason I know this is because my father-in-law dropped him off. He comes home, and he's stumbling up the steps, and his mother goes, "Drunk again, Bill?" He goes, "Me too, Ma."
Well, I grew up in a family where I remember I celebrated my 15th year by drinking a delicious concoction of Mountain Dew and Southern Comfort.
Wow. Wow.
I passed out steering the porcelain bus wheel, and my father and mother, who came home from closing the bar, picked me up, threw me in my bed, and then the next morning granted me no mercy at all when I woke up with my first hangover and exclaimed, "Oh, I'm sick." And my mother said, "No, you're not. You're hungover. You've got work to do."
What was it? I want to ask you a question, Jason.
Yes.
Was it a hangover, a headache, or dizzy?
Both.
Okay.
And I recall my rear end was a bit sore too, so I don't know who I was hanging with that night. But
Someone very attracted to you.
well, they did buy me a couple drinks, so let's, okay. I mean, you got to be flattered about that, right?
Was it a scout troop?
Why? You want the number? Should I get a hold of
No,
Scott?
no. I'm just kind of curious. Were you inclined to men in uniform?
I just thought you might want to, borrow the uniform I still have in the basement. But yeah, it's all good.
Shelley
No.
Berman had a great joke for the definition of a hangover.
What's
My
that?
tongue is asleep and my teeth itch.
Yes. It was one of those I can remember before passing out. I just laying on the floor, holding the base of the toilet, wishing the world would stop spinning. And I thought, okay.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, this is a whole new vista, and we'll be back here next week. I can't wait. But the hangover the next day was only rivaled when a few years later I celebrated graduation by taking 2 hits of Purple Barrel mescaline and drinking almost a gallon of Kroger cold duck.
See, you know how to live.
Yeah.
You didn't know the
Yeah,
comedian
yes.
Frank Santarelli? He played Fat Georgie on The Sopranos.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
He does this joke. I don't think it's a joke. I think this happened to him. He said, "You ever wake up on the bathroom floor with your face near the scale?" He said, "So I weighed my head." He said, "It weighs 22 pounds." He said, "I'm depressed. I'm a fathead." God, he's funny. Oh man.
No, there was nothing like that because again, I grew up at a time when there was no air conditioning in the house.
Oh yeah.
And at that point in time, the best sort of hangover medicine we had was whatever I could scrape out of the Mexican seeds and stems that my brother left for me on the tray. It was the 70s.
My wife, who's younger than me, I don't mean 30 years younger, but younger than me, can't believe that because we didn't have air conditioning, we had one of those huge fans on a stand.
Oh, hell, it would take off if you put it on high and attach it to something.
How do you think I got to Detroit? And so, she said, "Was there any disadvantage to it?" I said, "Well, it was about 118 decibels. So you were cool, but you were also deaf."
Yeah. And and depending on what channel you were trying to watch, it would interfere with one of the stations, So,
well, see, that's a dynamic that people today don't remember.
No, when Mom would turn on,
and somebody would have to stand near the TV to stop the vertical.
Exactly.
Yes, that was my job.
And if they got up, you'd go, "No, don't leave, don't move."
How long do I have to stand here, Mom, till I tell you to move? That's right.
And also, if you live near an airport.
Oh yeah, if the airplane goes over.
Yes, sir.
Either it comes in or it goes out, depending on what channel you were trying to pull in. Especially if you were trying to pull in the blacked out football game because the NFL was really so smart back in the day. Oh yeah. Back when they would black out the Lions, now they would be doing us a service, and I'm sure you Jets fans probably feel about the same. Because I know when I die and go to hell, the Jets and the Lions will be playing each other every day. I can't wait.
It's interesting when you say that because no team that I have even a modicum of a rooting interest for is any good.
Yeah, that's
Washington.
Yeah.
The Jets. The Giants.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's
at least for a little while the Giants had something to we're doing.
The Giants won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
They won 2 under Parcells, and they won the year that the New England Patriots were undefeated until they got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that was Mario Manningham that caught the football that set up the touchdown.
It's so funny. The guy who made that unbelievable catch.
Yes.
Out of the league the next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when the Redskins, when Doug Williams had that phenomenal game, 5 touchdowns in 1 quarter.
God, that was great.
Oh, Jesus. Can you imagine? I was a Redskin fan. I was orgasmic. Oh my God! There was a running back named Timmy Smith
But I've got
who,
some
who
Riggins
still
pictures.
holds the record for rushing yardage in the Super Bowl, 207 yards.
Yeah.
Out,
Really?
not off the team, out of football the next year.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're either contributing to the team or you're helping to sell peanuts on the sideline, kid.
That's
Uh,
it. That
yeah.
is exactly right.
There is that. That's why whenever I heard people bitch about the money these guys get, it's like you don't realize. First off, they don't get but maybe a third to a half.
First of all, it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
is guaranteed, and they will use these guys till there's nothing left and cast them aside with absolutely not the
Yeah,
slightest.
instead of PhD, the letters after their name is CTE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as I like to say, ladies and gentlemen, Senator Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
I know I
something-
asked this before, but I want to ask it again. Have you seen his son?
Well, yes, I'm familiar with his work.
Oh my God. You
I-
know, I mean, Jesus God.
Well, the bloodline is going to kind of come to an end, I think.
But that's,
We know
that's
more little walkers along the way.
I don't understand. Either Herschel Walker is all evidence to the contrary, the most enlightened human being that's ever lived, or he is so brain damaged he doesn't realize that's his son. Because that kid, you know, it's you know, I made a point not to say he's gay when someone acts like that. He's
Right.
effeminate, because
Yeah.
I know gay guys who are not effeminate, but
me
he's you know, it's like the old joke: if he's not gay, he's on the waiting list. You know. Well, we can't bring you on right now, but you could blow a guy while we waitlisted you.
It's like Kirk Cameron, the guy who is absolutely working
Oh man,
not suck a cock. You know, it's like Kirk. Come on, dude. You just go down to the CD section.
you think he's
now.
gay? I'm not being sarcastic.
I'm dead serious. Oh yeah, yeah. The
The holy roller.
oh, absolutely. Yeah. Total
Did he
fruitcake
did he
guy.
go to the anti-gay thing that the Holy Rollers put on?
Do they do that? I don't get all the memos, guys. I'm not on the mailing list.
You don't get the memos.
They're still doing those things to the gay people. I mean,
They've seen my Grinder profile and they're like, "Hey, listen, you're not helping the cause one bit, pal. So we need to kind of pass you by." And it's like, well,
I did notice he got offended when someone said, "Are you dicking around?" that I know.
well, one can only hope. I mean, you know, that's the way.
You know, it's Jason. That's very interesting to me because I think he's darn cute. No, I think it's no. It's interesting to me because I didn't have an inkling that guy was gay,
I think,
or that there were rumors to that effect. I never heard that.
Rumors. I just look at the guy and I know that this guy is just trying really hard not to go down on another dude. You know, I mean, you know what? He wouldn't be the first straight guy who's ever blown me and said, "Listen, I'm not queer," and I'm like, "Listen, you don't got to explain nothing to me." You know, here's
you know what that's like, the great line in Boys in the Band. If you're over 30 and you're living with another man, it's not your roommate, you're sissies.
Boys in the Band. There's another movie that doesn't.
Boys in the Band.
Yeah, it doesn't age
You know
well.
what was interesting? The reboot was excellent, and normally reboots are terrible.
I didn't see it. Someone tried to make it again.
It had the guy from Big Bang Theory.
oh
Okay.
yeah, the guy who played
Sheldon or one of the.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he played Sheldon.
Sheldon.
He was terrific. It was a wonderful cast.
Yeah.
That movie, it was originally a play.
Yeah.
That play had so many great lines.
Oh,
Because-
it's a total fest. I love it. It's like, you know, yeah, Queen's on the rage, and
Well, I like the line where the guy gets so sick he throws up, and they take him up to the bathroom, and one of them comes back down and says, "How is he?" "Well, we sprayed with lilac." He goes, "Oh, really? Well, what's it like up there?" He says, "Well, before it smells like someone puked. Now it smells like someone puked in a gardenia patch." And just the I'm using quote fingers here. The straight guy says, "Well, I got to get." Remember, this is supposed to be in New York. Yeah.
oh yeah,
He says, "Well, I got to get going." And Emery, who's the truly swish, overtly gay guy, goes,
Right.
"Oh, really? You have to go, huh? Heavy date in Lafayette Square?" And he goes, "How many S's are in that square?" And he goes, how'd you like to blow me? Because what's the matter with your wife, honey? She got lockjaw?
Oh shit! But you know what? What's funny is my little nephew, who I was trying to explain some of this to, is that he couldn't wrap his mind around. There was a time when being gay was not just wrong; it was illegal. And if you got busted, I mean, the cops sending people in, setting you up, and if you got busted, you were completely ruined. You were destroyed.
Fran Lebowitz tells the story in
He
her
couldn't believe-
autobiographical film about there were surgeons
Yeah.
from Mount Sinai Hospital who lost their careers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This wasn't like I repair roller skates. These guys are at the top of their craft. Oh, you
Right.
blew a guy? No, you don't have a job anymore.
There's nothing we can do for you. Yes, yeah. We need you to move on. The wife wants you to call, though. She needs some help rearranging the closet.
That's why I think that Stonewall and what happened there doesn't get enough historical credit.
Yeah.
Not historical credit. I mean, nowadays, and this is where I take issue with the whole trans thing, because I argue that this, amongst the doing the sort of, it's one thing if you're an adult, and I've known trans people from the 60s on. I've known people in AA who were adults when they made this decision, like they'd been struggling with it for decades, and I can respect what they need to do, and it's their bodies, go right ahead. But when we're talking about kids in single digits, I honestly believe we got either mommy Munchausen going on.
No, you got to let that. Yeah, I agree with you. I do. I think
people with switching kids.
They have to have a chance to grow up.
Yeah.
There's a comic, Rick Scotty, who's now Julia Scotty.
Yeah.
Oh.
And she finished second in America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
I mean, I know her, but she's like 60 something. So
Right.
she gets all the leeway in the world from me.
Well, when you get folks who are trying to trans away the gay with the kids, that's where I have a problem. They can't tolerate the thought of a gay child, but they have no problem putting them on the road to surgeries, making them a patient for the rest of their life. I have known people who were 18 and 19 who died of strokes, and you shouldn't be dying of a stroke at 18 or 19 years old after having to, both were women who were supposedly transitioning to men who'd been on male hormones since they were 13 and 12 respectively. And they died of a stroke. Yeah. And I'm like, really? That's natural. Sure it is. No, I don't buy that. Not at all.
By the way, this is a little off the subject, or way off, but yesterday, July 4th, they always on American Movie Classics, AMC. Is that it? Is that what it's called? Turner Classic Movies.
Turner Classic.
They showed, as they always do, they showed Yankee Doodle Dandy.
Yes, yeah.
And so I'm looking up IDBM, which is the greatest website ever. Ever.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm looking up the cast. Now, this movie was made in 1942.
Right.
So literally everyone in it is dead.
Yeah.
But the thing I found interesting was virtually all the women in the cast, virtually all of them, lived into their 90s.
Yeah.
And the men, a lot of them lived into their 80s, and but that was an era where you'd see guys who died at like 55, cause of death, lung cancer.
Well, about to say, that's back when they'd light a cigarette off another cigarette and have two more cigarettes going.
Right. But the kid who played the young George M. Cohan, you remember the one who said he got his ass whipped by the kids from Brooklyn and all that in the beginning of the movie, and his father spanked him. Yeah. So I'm looking him up, right? Because I figure, well, now wait a minute. If this movie was made in 1942, that's 8 years ago?
Well, 42, yeah, it'd be 68, it'll be 88 years ago. 88, almost.
No, it can't be 88 because my sister was born in 41 and she's 80.
Well, let me see. 42. So hold on. Yeah, I think you're right. 58 plus 20. Yeah, 78. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Sam. You're right.
So he'd be about 91.
Yeah.
So I look him up. He died at 37.
Oh, man.
Guess what from? Acute alcoholic poisoning.
Well, again, it's been around for a while. And
that kid who played Rusty on the Danny Thomas show, committed suicide at 40.
Oof.
Wow.
Oof.
Tough business for a kid.
Yeah. That whole whole issue, with the kid stars and
not the one, but one of the people who came out of that thing, and there were children when they started, and came out pretty much unscathed. Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
Jodie Foster, Jackie Cooper.
Jackie Cooper.
I don't know if you would count Jackie.
Ron
Cooper.
Howard.
Ron Howard, yeah.
And he's the one who figured out he'd rather be directing than acting.
But not only that, and then he started early because he was like 29. But both his parents were actors.
Yeah.
So they knew the ins and outs of the trade.
Bill Mumy of Lost in Space managed to get through it, and also his parents already had money, so they didn't see it necessary to fuck him and take his. So he actually got to keep his money, unlike
they didn't need the Jackie Coogan law for him.
Well, the kid from
Bill Mumy.
The kid from Second Alliance. What's that one with I See Dead People?
Oh yeah, it was that. I know who you're talking.
I know who you mean.
Yeah, so he's showed up in a lot of
he's
TV
doing
shows.
fine. He's doing
great.
fine.
Yeah,
he's doing okay. He gained 3,000 pounds, but he's doing okay.
Yeah, he's been in quite a few. And he's very, very funny too. It's pretty good.
When you're sort of built like John Daly, I mean, you don't have a whole lot of choice sometimes how that goes.
People don't understand that when they talk about why is this guy heavy. If both your parents are overweight, there's an 80% chance you're going to be overweight.
Oh yeah. Here, have some more, and especially if they're Depression era babies. Here's some more food. It was never a request. Would you like some more? Was never a question. It was just a warning that the shovel was about to come down on your plate again. Eat it all. And again, I grew up with parents. I remember never getting hit like I did when I threw away my mother's coffee can of bacon grease. Exactly. You're laughing. A Jewish guy knows you don't throw away the bacon grease can.
No, you don't, pal.
But I didn't. I learned. Oh, I learned.
The hard way.
Mama cradling me with some ice in a towel afterwards, going, "Baby, I'm really sorry to hit you like that, but don't you ever come into my kitchen again."
Wouldn't it be great if a mother starts to hit you and she goes, "You know why I'm doing this? To help me? No, because I'm pissed and I hope it hurts like shit."
Well, that's my mother. Yeah, that was. She used to call us to come down the. If she caught us running down the hallway, she'd stick her leg out and trip us, and then come over. Loom over, look at us, and go, "And you're the one I like." And then
Dennis Miller had this great line. He says, my parents lived by the philosophy of that which doesn't kill you hurts like shit and will scar you psychically for the rest of your life.
That was the point. Exactly. Yeah. Because you know what?
Did he just stop working? Did Dennis just stop working? I mean, he's got a lot of money.
I think he does like a podcast now it's like a 4-pay podcast.
But he had a pretty popular radio show and just bailed.
Out of his house, and he did it for like 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
And I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't think he got fired.
No. He said, I've spent a lot of time in a lot of rooms, either writing or doing stuff, and I just want to take it easy now. And what can you say? I mean,
he's worth $20 million. He can do that.
Yeah.
He's 68 years old. He's worth $20 million. God bless him.
Yeah. You don't. He doesn't feel the need to get out there, and do it again. I mean, the last time around, the Rolling Stones went on tour. I mean, the one before that I enjoyed, but the most recent show, it's like he couldn't even remember what he was doing, and it's like at this point, come on, guys, come on, let's. Well,
Mick Jagger. I mean, the name of it. They should change the name of the song to "Under My Gums."
Pretty much at this point. Oh. And
Mark, you look like Santa Claus. You really do.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear us?
You look pretty good too.
I've been searching for a
way to make Class C.
No, I've been searching for an instrument that will not give me a 10-second delay. This laptop that I started the program with, it put me on a 10-second delay as soon as I put 4 people on the screen.
Did it work?
So, well,
evidently.
I'm not on a delay now, so I guess it did work.
Is that an older laptop, Mark?
No, my newer laptop is what I'm having the problem with. I'm going through an old iPad right now.
Huh.
Did you see how
right.
cheap?
I've gone
What's that?
through a few pads.
Did you see
myself.
how cheap these new laptops are?
Yeah.
I bought this one for $188.
Get out of town.
What you can build
I got-
with Chinese slave
Hey.
labor is amazing.
I got it at Costco. Yeah, I'd hate to be the parents of the kids that had to build this thing, but
You know, or
Oh, tough doogies, all right? And not everybody gets a chance to eat rat.
Get to live on that hot sun all these time, you know?
You know, listen, I remember when I joined the Big Brother, Little Brother program, I thought it was so I could get some kid to paint my house.
yeah,
You know, and this guy, the kid says,
that
wait a
sounds
minute.
like that sounds like when my parents got divorced, and every time we had a weekend at my dad's house, it was work detail.
This one kid was pissed at me. He said, hey, the last guy took us to a ball game. I said, shut up. I'm teaching you a trade.
And remember, today's trade is tomorrow's competition.
Exactly.
You only got so much. You only got so much life in this business, kid. So you make the best of it, because by the time you're 30, it's over. In fact, by the time you're 25,
I got a call, Mark. This is mostly for Mark because we missed you.
I was listening the whole time. I just wasn't able to get on.
But you weren't facially present, so
I wasn't facially present, but I heard everything you guys were talking
and
about.
so we were damn entertaining, I think.
You were damn entertaining. I did want to say Timmy Smith, wasn't he a U of M, University of Michigan back
Yes.
then? The one that,
Yes.
I thought so.
Out of the league, it stuns me that out of the league the next year, not traded.
We had a guy that everyone was pissed off that the Lions traded a couple years ago, Golden Tate.
Yeah, I remember him.
He got traded to the Eagles, not in the league anymore. And this is a guy here. We're drafting wide receivers now, and here this guy can't even get a job. And he was like, everybody was pissed. Like, why would we trade our best receiver? I don't know what they see. I mean, what does the league see in this guy who's a star for maybe just got too old. I don't know.
There's an expression that a friend of mine used to talk about in sales. He said, I said to him, because he was a great salesman. This guy could, the old saying, could sell, ice cubes to an Eskimo. This was him. And I said, what separates you from a guy who can't do what you do? He goes, how big is your want to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing with me in sales is I could never get worked up about something that I wasn't a part of. In other words, like real estate, there was a guy who I worked in real estate for a while and I did okay, but the guy who was my supervisor sold his first house when he was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, he was Glenn Ross. Right?
That's right. So this guy, he was Ricky Roma. So this guy had drive that could move a building.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to say his motto is "Get out of my way," and he was a nice guy. He wasn't ruthless, but man, did he know how to sell. He said, "I'm going to take you out on a sales with me." He said, "I'm going to ask you one favor. Don't say a word. If something comes into your mind, don't say a word. If the person I'm selling to says not a word, can you?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." 2 seconds later, he pushed me out of the car. No, so and it hurt. No, so I'm watching him and I'm going, this guy's a genius.
Yeah.
This guy knows how to talk to people, how to let them talk, how to let and keep talking and let that. So I said to him after the person, and he made the sale. And we did rentals, but he did, he got it done. And I said, you almost said nothing. He said, I don't. He said, I let the customer say everything.
Yeah. Well, Glenn Garrett.
And I said, why do you do that? He said, because they're the ones spending the money.
And they're going to talk themselves into it. They walked in wanting to give you the money.
That's right. We had a woman who was a salesperson. I liked her so much, and she had the sales technique of Attila the Hun. She would show someone. An apartment, which is all we have here in New York is an apartment.
Yeah.
And she'd finish up, and she goes, "So what do you think?" "Well, we like it." "Yeah, that's great. You want it or not?" And I went, "Holy shit, Where's the rubber hose when you need it? I said, God damn. And she said, look, I don't have time for you. She literally almost said, I don't have time for your bullshit. And I said, you know, I don't know if you know this, but your soft sell isn't working.
I still like the approach, though. It's
But she was successful. And my theory was she scared people into signing.
Well, you got a
We better do what she says. Oh, man.
I love that, man. It's like, okay, honey, spread them right now. Let's get this done. Foreplay is for losers. So, yeah.
That's hysterical.
That was a Joan Jett song, wasn't it?
Foreplay is for losers?
Foreplay is for absolutely. Pat Benatar would have never been able to.
Oh, Pat Benatar. That was it. Pat Benatar.
She finally got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Which goes to show you why I'm boycotting the Rock. Alice Cooper.
All right. All right.
Is.
All right. There is no such thing as a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. People pay. It's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame. You pay for that honor.
Is that true in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
It sure is. I mean, when you get.
But if what you're saying is true, then why wouldn't the Go-Go's have already been in? Why they have money? Why wouldn't they pay for it?
No, you get in. No, I shouldn't say you pay to get in, but I've known people that there have been people here. Well, you know that when the Stooges got in, that the brothers, I can't remember their name now. You know, the brothers that were the drummer and the bass player for the Stooges. The Ashton brothers that played with Iggy Pop.
Yes, they did.
They had to have somebody raise money for them so they could go to the dinner, because they sell you a table for like $35,000 to go to your own induction ceremony. You've heard that, haven't you, Jason?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know what that's like. I was in Who's Who in colleges and universities, and I felt, well, wow, this is quite an honor. They tried to sell you the book in which you are mentioned as being, and I went, do I have to buy the book? No. I said, okay. Were you going to? No.
Oh.
I didn't know this came with, a warning. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. There's two acts in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that I think should be there that aren't. One is the MC5, and they won't be. They've been nominated more than any other act that hasn't been put in. In fact, they've been nominated more than any other act, whether they've been put in or not put in. They've been nominated 9 times, and they'll never get enough votes because most people have never heard of them except other rock and rollers. They have to have, just like you have the Veterans Committee for the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Right.
You've got to have not fans and writers, journalists voting these people in. You got to get other rock and roll people to talk about how influential the MC5 was. The MC5. And then the other act that I think should be in there for just the opposite reason. If the MC5 should be in there for artistry and their impact on rock and roll, on the other end of it, somebody who sold a lot of records and is still ignored is Tommy James and the Shondells. They sold the shit out of stuff.
Well, they shouldn't be.
Crystal Blue Persuasion.
And they were a band that was fucked over by their
Hanky Panky.
Record. Yes.
Moni is Tommy James.
Their record company was owned by the mob. They tried to sign with a couple of other Atlantic and some other, and they finally got a phone call that said, look, this guy at this record company over here is saying anybody signs you, your house is going to burn down and your kids are going to disappear. And Tommy James said it wasn't until that record company was finally sold to a larger recording concern back in the late 90s, early 2000s that he actually started getting royalties. It was that long to get his money. Because again, people forget it was all mob owned back then. And,
I should talk to Gary because we've been trying to pitch my story and we're not getting anywhere with it. We should pitch that story. We should just buy that. Because Tommy James wrote a book about that. We should just buy the rights to that book and get that movie made. That'd be a great movie.
That would be a fantastic Netflix series. About how these guys. They got.
Yeah, you got the offer right there. That's the offer. There we go.
I mean,
Thanks, Andy. Oh, that team's probably looking for something to do now. They're looking for their next project. This is different enough
Tommy James
from The
project,
Godfather. Yeah. Exactly.
Another one would be Del Shannon, another guy who ended up taking his life rather sadly.
Why is he not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Del Shannon, oh my God.
He was also one of the first one to use an early synthesizer, and also,
yep.
He's the only rock and roll song that Andy Rooney ever liked was Del Shannon's "Hats Off to Larry," which is, of course, a song about a guy who takes his girlfriend and she ends up shitting on Larry and Andy Rooney.
All those songs, there was a series of those songs, like between 1958 and 1966, that were all about, this is my situation, it's my party, that type of thing.
Oh yeah,
those are great songs.
Another band,
ballads they're called. That's what they're called.
Ballads.
Bobby Fuller of the Bobby Fuller Four was found strangled to death in the trunk of his car, ruled suicide. Yeah, you figure that out.
Strangled to death in his car.
Yeah, in the trunk. Yeah, it's a suicide. Clearly, it's I didn't know he had dirt on Hillary Clinton. I mean, how he pulled that off, I don't know.
Well, I think the greatest suicide to me was Chilean leader Salvador Allende, who he had that guy that not only did he commit suicide, but he was able to do it after the CIA announced it in Washington, D.C. And then after he shot, and then not only that, but after he shot himself in the back, he was still able to throw himself over the balcony.
Well,
that is a spectacular suicide right there.
The CIA, I mean, they also the change in the government in Saigon in 1963.
You all right, Sam?
I took a leak.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
All right.
I have to drink 8 glasses of water a day.
Yeah, well, there you go.
It's good.
We call that a leak of We call that a leak of absence.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Sweetman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be here all week.
Mark, I still can't wrap my head around the fact $188 for a laptop.
Got it at Costco. It's a Chromebook.
Wow.
I told you guys the Chromebook it's my second one now, and I love them because where all the virus writers are trying to hack your Apple or Microsoft, and everybody stays away from the Chrome operating system.
Right.
Because they just think, because it doesn't, I don't have the operating system on my computer. It comes in from the internet. I cannot operate this computer without the internet. Well, and so also, I'm turning over to Google pretty much everything I own. Yeah. But in exchange for that, it's always bug free.
Well, and you use the antivirus to wipe the slave blood off. It makes it a lot more easier.
Yeah.
That was great. Jason,
that was
killing
great. Me.
Thank you.
Oh man, that's funny as shit.
It's not so much them as it is the Nigerian children who are working at.
It doesn't mean it hasn't been made. It's not been made in America. We basically claim Marshall Islands and the slave labor there. You can be in Marshall Islands and the Samoa
Islands.
I heard the entire slave ring is being run by the Jonas Brothers.
Well, look at them. I mean, it's true, obvious.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Now there's our next Netflix series.
I mean, I don't think you can even argue that. I mean, the fact that they had a career, knowing what they were all going. They're cute when they're young, but as soon as they turn 21, it's like Italian chicks in their 30s. They get a lot of weight on and they carry it low. For the other fellows, they get.
I'll tell you something funny. My kid loved them. She thought they were like the greatest thing. And 2 years after that passed, I said to her, are you going to any Jonas Brothers concert? If you can see my face, she went like this.
Oh, well,
she's a little embarrassed.
And I said to myself, you know what that look says? What was I thinking?
By
the way, you watch CBS Sunday Morning?
I do.
They had the most beautiful story about these two brothers from Sierra Leone who were orphans.
Oh, yes, that's a great story.
Oh man, I was crying. It was so beautiful. And they were placed in an orphanage, and then they were adopted by this white family in North Carolina.
Yep. So,
And to see, and the father of them, you know, their new father, he said, everything to them is miraculous. He
Oh,
said,
tell
when we got
Yes.
home and I pressed the button to open up the gate, they were like, Father, what, like that. But the greatest part to me was when they were going through a car wash.
me.
They were just completely knocked out. Their faces were like this.
Yeah.
But one of them, it was his birthday, and they were having a birthday party for him. And they said, "Why were you so moved by this?" He could barely. He was sobbing, and he ran over and hugged his father because he literally couldn't stand. He was so overwhelmed.
I saw the
And-
story.
Yeah, and he said, "Because I've never had a birthday party like I've
No.
never had a celebration." He said,
no.
"It's a double blessing."
Yeah,
He
you're
said,
living-
he said to me, it was like there's heaven, and this is the step before heaven.
Yeah.
And I thought, and what his father said was, it's amazing how much we take for granted.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
When I'm in the gym and someone's in the sauna complaining it's not quite 165 degrees, and I'm thinking, now there's a first world problem for you. You know, the
God,
sauna isn't quite hot enough. We have 2/3 of the planet that can't use toilet paper to wipe their ass, but you know, our sauna needs to be a wee bit warmer so I can do my Pilates.
did you see W, the movie W with Josh Brolin?
No, I've got to though. It looks so subversive, and I
He
hate
was
it.
brilliant, by the way. He was great. But the reason I'm bringing it up is you mentioned toilet paper.
Yes.
There's a scene in the movie where W is
Yeah.
on the toilet,
Oh boy.
and his wife, well, no, it's nothing. And his wife, Laura,
Yes.
is in the other room,
Yes.
you know, changing clothes.
Yes.
And he's on the toilet, right?
Yes.
He uses one sheet
Ah,
of toilet paper, and I went, "Who is this son of a bitch?"
well, when you come from a family that tight ass,
I mean, seriously,
I
one
mean,
sheet.
he's what I call a diamond maker. You can slump up a lump of coal up his butt. A week later, you got yourself a nice 3-carat bobble. You know,
I thought to myself, man, you know, he shits in sheets. I mean,
Oh,
that's unbelievable.
LBJ would have laughed at him. You know, I mean, yeah, again, well, LBJ is one of my favorite presidents in terms of character, in terms of just
When he
quotability.
pulled the dog's ears.
I mean,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
guy, he was just an insane madman.
Well, the thing that was great about him,
You can't get
to
enough
me,
quotes out of the
he
dude.
didn't give a shit what we thought.
Not a goddamn bit.
Mhm.
But he did. But he didn't. You know, I mean, he cared about what the Kennedys were doing and the Republicans. And then he'd go and do something like bomb the living shit out of the North again. And then he, you know, it's just always convinced that Bobby Kennedy was coming.
There was no greater arm twister than him, though.
No, and he got shit done. He and Everett Dirksen would work something out. And, you know,
Yeah, he was
The
a
country's
master of the
too
South.
divided now. You don't see that anymore.
no, and you also
And I
have
think it's all ego.
LBJ would also.
Oh,
let
yeah.
you know,
You talk about the country being divided. I coach basketball for 20 years in Dearborn, and when you're coaching basketball and baseball, I coach baseball too. But when you're coaching two American sports to immigrants' children, you're
Yes.
often coaching the adults as much as you're coaching the kids because they don't understand this. They consider you to be experts and everything. But anyway, one of the kids I had was from Sierra Leone, but he was Lebanese. His family was Lebanese, but his grandfather was a diplomat for Lebanon in Sierra Leone. So this kid and his dad, who became one of my assistants, were both from Sierra Leone. And his dad, he sang the praises of the United States like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you gotta hate the division we have here between the left and the right. He goes, not even close. You
No.
guys don't hate each other. You call that hate? You know.
No, you go to Beirut in the you'll see.
He said,
You know,
you call the left and the right in the U.S. hate? That's not hate.
No.
well, you know, it's funny you say that because two of the people on the Supreme Court who were close friends were Clarence Thomas and Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes, exactly. Oh, you know what? And Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan were great friends.
Yeah.
You know?
Even though O'Neill called Reagan an amiable dunce, which was not really far from the truth be told. I mean, yeah, they managed to work it out, and now we have take your pick. Do you want Chuck Schumer or do you want Mitch McConnell? It's like, oh, I don't know. Do I want the barbed wire dildo or do I want the
Mitch
giant?
McConnell doesn't bother me as
Oh,
much at all because
I wanna
he's
drop-
he's a smart politician
he
and
is.
but he gets shit. He eventually gets shit done, like with the gun legislation. He
is
gets shit done as best he
That gun
can.
that gun
The
legislation did
one
not
I
happen
hate.
without Mitch McConnell.
That's
Well,
right. The one I hate, I
Yes.
despise, is Ted Cruz because he's
God.
a fool. Because he takes the time in the United States Senate to criticize a Muppet character for encouraging kids to get vaccinations. Just throw him out of a plane. There's
Yeah.
just no. Just shut up,
Yes,
please, God. That's just grandstanding. It has no reason to. I want to get on the congressional record. Just
Yeah.
please stop. And him, Matt Gaetz,
Yeah. Oh, the guy whose hair looks
bitch face Taylor Greene,
Yeah.
asswipe Boebert, which I think was her frat name.
Yeah. Well,
Asswipe Boebert, she's been redistricted. I mean, not the whole district, but there's a lot more Democrats in her district now than she had the last time she ran.
well,
Really?
So she's got to fight this time.
That she's going to lose.
I
I don't
tell you,
know. I don't know.
McConnell, I wanted to drop him down a Kentucky mine shaft so deep it bounces off Dick Cheney's soul. That's how deep I
That's how it begins.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and remember, I'm from the same party as he's in nominally.
Well, somebody said to me, Boebert, they think she was a call girl.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me.
Right. Wouldn't surprise me. And somebody said, would you let her, would you vote for her if she blew you? I said, I've seen how she looks in a bathing suit. The vote wouldn't matter.
Well, John Dean's wife, Maureen, was allegedly part of a call girl operation, and that was
Who's that?
supposedly why the Watergate break-in went forward, because they were looking for info on the call girl business that she was a part of at the Democrat national headquarters.
Who?
John
Dean's wife?
That's been the
Whose wife?
That John Dean. You remember the
Maureen.
Yeah, the rat from
Mo Dean.
Yeah,
Mo Dean.
Yeah, and
she was pretty.
Well, she was allegedly one of the top call girls in Washington D.C. at the time.
Hey, who's going to be our John Dean for January 6th?
There is.
We've already got her.
Oh fuck.
Oh no, she's not as high as John. You need somebody up at John.
Oh, you
Dean's
mean
level.
someone further up?
Yeah, who's going to be the John Dean for the January 6th hearing?
Well, I can tell you, it's not going to be Mark Meadows.
No, it ain't gonna be any of them.
I agree with Jason.
It's a wait.
Are we going to hear from? Are we going to hear from?
That's why. Hold on. Excuse me. That's why I think it's her, because that's about as high as you're going to get.
Yeah.
What about the guy that was What about the guy that was well? Bill Barr was pretty high and was pretty inflammatory.
But Bill Barr is not a tell-all. You're talking about a tell-all.
Yeah. How about the guy? How about the guy who was the national security guy, Mr. Mustache? What's his name?
Mr. Mustache.
Mr. Bolton. Is that Bolton? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, John Bolton. No,
John Bolton.
No. He was not a part of the inner circle. The person who has to be what you want them to be has to be part of the inner circle. John Dean was a counsel to the president.
Yeah, John.
And Bolton's been gone for 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be Ivanka or her hubby, and it's never going to happen. So
Oh, Ivanka, there's no shot, and I'll tell you why. Because despite all her bravado, she's scared of her father.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
And Jared Kushner. Let me say this again. He's not part of the government. It has to be a government official. It has to be a government official who is like 3 notches down from Trump and no further. And that's not him.
if they were working on issues that were a little more important, like ending that fucking war in Iran or in Iraq, excuse me, Ukraine. We've been at war everywhere for the last 30 fucking years. Excuse me.
That's right. But no,
You know,
there's no one.
how about
That's
this?
why I said at Hutchinson.
How about this? How about we park a couple of aircraft fucking carriers and quit shooting bombs and bullets at everyone around the goddamn world? If we're going to spend that kind of money, we can spend it here. There's plenty of places and lots of poor people could use a little extra help. This isn't that hard to figure out. And why we can't figure it out, I do not know.
Well, you know, I had a professor, and I'd say to him, how come we spend all this money on this? Why can't we take that money and move it over here? He said, that is not how the government works.
No, it isn't.
He said, the government works like this. This money right here, this money is designated for this and only this.
Yeah.
And it will not be moved. And you cannot shift it over to this.
And next year the pile will be incrementally bigger. And
Right.
next year will be incrementally
And even if you want, if you want something for this, then you have to pass legislation or allocate money for that. But if you think you can move it from Department of Defense to HHS, you're wrong.
We field 60 nuclear submarines, of which 25 are armed with Trident III missiles. And the others are armed with cruise missiles that also are nuclear tipped. No other country in the world can even come close to what we have. We are dripping in weapons.
We are oversubscribed.
And we are drowning in our own fucking debt, in our own fucking waste. We've been feeding our kids on fucking social media for the last few years, and it's like eating ice cream with a fucking knife, and then we're surprised when it comes back to us. And I don't know. I'm tired of it. It would seem that it might be a little bit easier to maybe start cutting away at some of that shit. And there are men in the military who'll tell you we're spending way too fucking much. Not just
Jason.
People who are starved.
Jason, that's the kind of rant that I like to sing a song to with you.
And it goes something like this.
Something like that.
Oh, you haven't seen it, Sam. Andy's seen it though, but Jason will get into these rants, and I'll say, "Can I sing a song to back that up the next time you do that?" And so he'll go out and he'll do a rant, and I'll sing a song behind him.
Is that like Roy Rogers being asleep on his front porch with a $5,000 pair of boots, and a cougar comes along and starts tearing at the boots, and Roy gets on his horse and chases the cougar into a box canyon and shoots and kills him and drags his carcass back to the ranch, and Dale Evans comes out and says, "Pardon me, Roy. Is that the cat?
Is that the cat that chewed your new shoes?"
Oh, by the way, I want to tell you the funniest thing I ever heard Burt Reynolds say. He said, "You know, I met Roy Rogers, and he said, you know, when I look on this ranch I have here in Vacaville, California, I feel so blessed to be a part of God's great nature that has afforded me the opportunity to be a part of this, to look out and see this extravagant view. And it just makes me so filled with hope for the future." And now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go fuck Dale.
Bert did like older women. He had no problem sharing the dog
Dinah Shore.
with lines in their face.
You know, it amazes me. People, I don't know how many people know this, but the biggest lesbian convention is the Dinah Shore Golf Tournament.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nothing comes closer. Nothing.
No.
And she was straight.
Maybe a Pretenders concert, but yeah, you know.
Maybe a WNBA playoff game.
Well, people go to a Pretenders
or a hockey game.
You know.
Maybe the junior high school gym teacher conference.
Oh God, Robert Klein had this great joke. He said, we had a women's gym teacher, Miss Delaney. She was a strong woman. She was a sharp woman. She was a tough woman. She was a dyke, ladies and gentlemen.
She was a dyke. Oh my God! Yeah, the kind of woman that got those chiseled features and that swept back hair that's nicely braided into a single rat tail, along with the waxed underarm hair and the nicely brushed chest hair.
I believe it was braided.
Yes. Oh, you meant
my favorite. My favorite. Well, I had about 3 different teachers in schools I went to that were the girls' gym teachers that fit the description. But my favorite part of each one of them was that sort of that Patton, General Patton stance and walk they would do in front of their girls, their arms folded in front of them, you know. All right, ladies, you know, they call them, you would call them ladies, like Trump would call them idiots, you know.
I knew
Like,
something was wrong with this one gym teacher, because when it was time for the girls to line up, she said, "You'll get up to the front, you goddamn coward."
hey, there's Frank. Frank
That's the end of
Sinatra's
the
here.
show.
That means it's the end of the show. Come on, Frank, keep singing, buddy.
Or it's time to smack Mia Farrow.
I can't get over. I saw Ronan Farrow again recently, and I
Everybody
just
thinks
can't get
he's
over how.
Sinatra's kid.
Oh, he looks just like a kid that would be Sinatra in Farrow's. Looks just like him. How could anybody if he is not Frank Sinatra's kid? There's no such thing as genetics. Come on.
I hear during sex he moans "Scooby Dooby Doo me."
Oh,
All right, I'm gonna let Frank take it out of here. I'll see you guys next week. Everybody back. We'll be back on Monday nights next week. Good night,
Have a
everybody.
great weekend, everybody.
I've been around the first. No, I don't want